All right. Try to help y'all learn something tonight. And y'all probably know more about some of this stuff than me. Hey, by the way, who has Section 8 property? Oh, two? Okay. I expected a little bit more than that. All right, here we go. We're going to get on the roller coaster then. All right, so let me just jump right into this. All I got to do is just, does it work? Yeah, okay. So let me start kind of where I started the last time I was here on leasing. So there are the mechanics of what we do, but then there has to be a sensibility of how we get things done. And this is, I think, the missing component. So, you know, I was at the hearing for safe and healthy homes. Anybody know what? Anybody heard of that? Have me back again. Oh my goodness! All right. So let's kind of just deal with this. If you're gonna work with any city agency or something that may be an agency and some kind of authority like Philadelphia Housing Authority is, then you gotta have three things. First, you gotta have patience. You really can't get ticked off, because when you do, then you lose. I'll tell you about a situation that happened with me. I had a mission trip that I was going on, and I had to get something done before I went away because I wanted to be able to contact the city or anything like that. And so I was asking them to get something done, and I couldn't understand why they wouldn't get something done. So, you know, my voice got a little elevated, and they said, "Security?" I said, "Okay." So, you know, I had to learn that you can't act on how you feel. That's not going to work. All right? It's not going to work. You got to make friends with folk down there, as difficult as it may be, but you got to do that. So you got to be patient. All right? Stuff happens, and what I forgot to put on there is stuff does not happen. That's really where the patience comes in. And then you got to be persistent. If you get frustrated, don't act on it. Well, y'all didn't know. We were getting ready to look at a video of what happened last week. It was really ugly. And what you tend to do is somebody who may be able to help you then won't help you. And you got to be prepared. This is going to be real important as we talk about Section 8. It kind of shocked me when I went on the website and saw some of the things that have to get done for you to become a Section 8 landlord and rent a property out. Excuse me, I keep saying Section 8. It's HCV landlord, Housing Choice Voucher. I think that nomenclature is kind of not politically correct anymore, something like that. As you prepare for both you and your property to be a part of the system, don't get careless. Have everything in order. So here's the interesting thing. We just talking about this today. Do you know that the Philadelphia Housing Authority is not a part of the city of Philadelphia? Y'all didn't know that?
No.
Okay. This is fun. So this came from the state's website, and then I'm going to give you my explanation for it. Listen to this. A municipal authority in Pennsylvania is defined as a body politic or corporate created to finance and or operate specific public work projects without tapping the general taxing powers of the municipality. Authorities, sometimes known as districts, special districts, or in other states, are alternate vehicles for accomplishing public purposes rather than through direct action of counties, municipalities, and school districts. Ain't it kind of wordy? Yeah, what? For real? You know what they really designed for? They had to separate the city from whatever action they wanted to do. because so that they avoid, to the extent that they could, corruption. So, you do this for me, I'm gonna do this for you, but we ain't gonna make it public. So that's really the reason why they did. So they give because this came from the state's website, so they're gonna talk about that, but they're not gonna tell you really, what happened. Not that Philadelphia Housing Authority didn't have its own issues earlier. All right, so why? Why do you want to do this? I think that this is, I may want to spend a little bit more time on this because I talked to somebody today about the whole issue of leasing in the city of Philadelphia. Aside from the fact that people think it may be a little bit more difficult with the safe and healthy homes, but real estate can be an investment, but only when it yields a return. Is anybody a Jumpstart graduate here? Right. And I know they told you that, right? Right? Right. You don't want to buy a property and then feed it. That the property is supposed to create a return. It's called, anybody know what that terminology is? Right, ROI, right. So when you go into it, you have to consider that I'm doing this because I want a return on my investment. Right? I choose to participate in HCV landlording if the return on investment meets my financial goals. So it's not a panacea that, I'm gonna make a ton of money on this. Too many moving parts on this, and too many things that you gotta be aware of. There's a process, the how of it, there's a process that moves me from consideration to fruition. That's a lot of big fancy words that I came up with when I was doing this. How does it work? So what happens is you come with the idea that I can get a property and I can rent it out Section 8. And how many of you have seen the zip code designations for the amount of money? All right, see that? Yeah. Yeah, well, you could be clocking, right? Okay. So, but you still have to be wise about this. We have a person who got a Section 8, got Section 8 approval for, is it 1 Style Street? Is that one or 2 bedrooms? Two bedroom apartments. I've been in there. Beautiful. But the area, nobody's calling. Did we get any? Nobody's calling on it because of the area. So if you're just looking at the paperwork and you think, okay, this will work, but that's not necessarily the case. Now, I do happen to know that around the corner from him, somebody else is going to develop a larger project. So ultimately, and I think another one is coming up about a block or 2 away. So it's going to hit. But how long of a stretch do you have to feed that property, that mortgage, the taxes, the insurance, before all of that starts to jump off? And it's a really nice neighborhood. And then what can I expect that as this relationship progresses between PHA and a potential tenant? Then this is an area that you really have to have some savvy, because yes, they can kind of work your nerves with what they do. So I'll tell you what those things are. All right. The process. You, the property, the tenant, and Philadelphia Housing Authority. That's the components. And sometimes there's a partnership here between you and a property manager. All right, so now we want to hit the website. While we're doing that, so you still have to make sure that there's space there in that investment. So I was talking to a guy today, and he was telling me about a friend that he knows has a bunch of properties in West Philadelphia, but now he's nervous because if he has to renew leases, he may not be able to get them at the same rate that he originally leased them at. And when your margin is narrow, then the ROI evaporates. We had over the last 30 days, we had 2 owners that called us to say they wanted to reduce the rent we were asking for because properties are staying on the market so long. Right? Oh, here we are.
Sorry, I'm on the landlord's page.
Right, that's good. So this is really nice. So what happened with PHA is that back in 2013 they got a new owner, not a new owner, but it was real estate, a new manager, right? Which was pretty good because the two managers that I knew before then had some problems and they had to leave town. So yeah, I don't. If this is being recorded, so I would get a letter from an attorney. They had to part ways. But what I realized in looking at the history of this, and I didn't know it because I was involved with this in 2013, and the frustration was how PHA was run with the Housing Choice Voucher program. It's too much to get into, but apparently what happened is it just was a long trail to get to where we are today with PHA. So there are a lot of things that are available now that they weren't available back then. They had separate offices. There was one in West Philadelphia, 52nd and Walnut, and their fax machine broke. This is years ago. Their fax machine broke, and it stayed broke for like a year or more. And so I went in there and said, "What's the problem? Fax machine, $200. You can't get it. Can't you, put your money together to do this?" And see how I'm acting. I learned. They ain't never get one. Never got one. I think they ultimately moved the office. All right, so let's go to the portal. Here. Let's come down here to all of these boxes. Now, what I got to tell you is if you're interested in this program, you got to read the material. You got to read the material. And so, like this, which is the one right here? Where's that? Where's the one with the owner, the work?
Oh, this on the H.
Yeah, there you go. HQS inspections. Housing quality standards. Government likes to do that, right? They just give you letters and don't even know what it means. All right, so you on this page, see right here? Just click on this for a second. I want to show you. Where's it? Look at the top. You have to see how many pages it is? 32 pages. 32 pages to get your house ready for an inspection. You better read it. Okay. You better read it. I'm gonna tell you what happened to me. I have a house that's HCV. So we were trying to get the and this wouldn't have mattered, but we were trying to get the lead inspection done. Couldn't figure out why at the window we kept getting this high reading of lead. And we had painted all the surfaces, no peeling or chipping paint, anything. And it kept failing over and over and over again. So I'm thinking, I said, oh, goodness, what is going on? The window had leaded glass. I said, okay. So what we did, we took some half-inch drywall and put it over the leaded glass front and back. So the leaded glass is still there, but it's encapsulated. When did the inspection again? No problem. So these things, you have to be creative and think through also. So why? Why is this the way it is? And we had another one on a reinspection. For whatever reason, the ceramic floor tile cracked. So the inspector told me, you got to replace the whole floor. Replacing the floor? So at another meeting, I had met a guy who has laminated vinyl tile, LVT. And he has LVT, and it just so happened that it looked just like the ceramic tile that I had. I went out and bought it, Contractor put it in, took a picture of it, passed. Yeah, see, you have to be savvy about this. This is, you have to think through this. This is, shout out to Jumpstart. How many of you learned a whole bunch of stuff in Jumpstart that you never knew? Never knew, right? So all of you who are here and you haven't gone through Jumpstart, you see? And I'm a Jumpstart graduate, and if you go in September, you're going to see me in the classes. Right. See, I want to be more than stupid, you know? Right? All right, so here we go. We're not going to go through all of this stuff. They just said something about a chimney. Wait a minute. What is it? Condition of chimney. Check it out. We got an owner. I talked to him over the weekend, I think it was. We got an owner. His chimney is defective. So I told him, I said, yeah, so you got to fix it. Well, you know, chimneys all over the place in West Philadelphia. They got bad chimneys. Them houses old. I said, yeah, but the house I live in is old. I got a new chimney. My office is old. I got a new chimney. And there are plenty other new chimneys all around. You got a new chimney too? This is my office manager, by the way, Stacy Alston. All right. She's just here to verify that I'm telling the truth.
You mean a new chimney or a new liner?
New liner, sorry, yeah, new liner, right. Although, in my office, it was so bad, they actually had to repoint all of the brick going up about 5 or 6 feet from the chimney down, from the opening down. All right, so those are the things that you have to look at. You know, all of those kinds of things you need to be aware of, because the inspector is supposed to be looking at those kinds of things. Well, we had another problem. I can't even remember what it was. It had something to do with the water. What was it in 2009? We had this problem with the water or the heater or the hot water. I don't know. It's something crazy happened. So, which is the next thing. Okay. Which is the next thing. Oh, I guess that's all we're going to talk about.
Let's keep moving through the slides.
Yeah, I thought this was my place, you know what I mean? So anyway, so you have to be well aware of that. All right, so we're going to move through the slides. I'm going to get quick on this. Housing Choice Voucher, the landlord should screen each applicant as he, she would in the private rental market, including rental, I didn't even read that part of it, including rental and credit history, criminal history, et cetera, to determine the stability of the applicant as a tenant. You know how important that is? Mm-hmm. Even though you think you're getting a whole bunch of money that'll cover that, even if they do act stupid? Because that doesn't. I was in court on Monday, a guy showed me a picture. The tenants had a dog in the house. The dog chewed through the door, the bedroom door or something like that. So you gotta really make sure, just like, this is what they say. See, they're telling us this, do it just like you would, but that's what, years ago, that's not what people were doing. But I'm getting all that money, why I gotta worry about that? I don't even care, they don't pay me. They found out. Yes?
Do they have to pay the security deposit too?
Yep. And it has to be in accordance with, I don't know, whatever the law is in the city of Philadelphia. Okay. Right. Which is another kind of funny thing, and I don't have the information on this. You got really 3 entities involved with this. There are rules that actually 4. There's rules that the city has, there's rules that the state has, and there's rules that the federal government has, and then there's PHA. So how do they all work together, and who has jurisdiction over what? Some things they have to, some things, because it's a federal organization, override some of the things that happen in the city of Philadelphia. At least it was that way. I don't know how it's going to be with this new law. All right, so your rent can be abated. So this is another good one. So my office manager was telling me about my property. You know, you got to get this done. You know, you got to get this done. I said, yeah, you know, I'm going to get it done. I'm going to get it done. And I didn't get it done, and it got abated for about a week or something like that. So, you know, they will do this. And then it can go a very, very long time. Did we have one that went like 6 months on 5810 Chestnut? And that's because the owner, we inherited the tenant because we not likely would have maintained the tenant because the problems that they created in the property. But we couldn't get everything done because of issues in the property, and that rent was abated for 6 months. So you got to be very careful about that. Now, I'm assuming that many of you who are going to be renting out Section 8 properties, they're renovated or to some degree or another. Is that what you may be thinking about? All right, if you think, there's one person that shook their head over here. Okay, but anybody else, if you're interested in doing this, because you really need to make sure, even if it's not a HVC property, you really need to make sure in the current environment that you have a safe and healthy home. All right, you gotta make sure my tenants have some stuff better than I do. So one other thing that you can do, and I really gotta give a shout out to them. So this is the owner liaison. So you can contact her if there's a problem. But remember I told you gotta be persistent because it's hard. Somebody know. Somebody see the smiling back there. You know her? You there? Okay. Yeah. Now I'm telling you now that she's really nice. She's really nice and she wants to help. But it's just how everything comes together that makes it a challenge. And she's been working, they say it's 10 years. So she must have been 10 years in this position, somewhere in there, it says something like 10 or 13 years. She's been around for a long time. When she was just at a desk doing something, I don't know. But I mean, she's lasted. And for you to last that long and then get a better position as you last, I think she's pretty good. And she was there when folks in the leadership were pretty bad. Then there's a long list of information too, and it's a little bit harder to find on the website about responsibilities of the tenants. So I think I just snatched something, and I'm just going to read this without comment, and you can see it on here. Evidence of U.S. citizenship and eligible immigration status. That's one of the requirements. All right, so we keep that in mind in our current environment. Family employment, income and composition, and immediate notification of changes in status if or when they occur. Really? Social Security numbers for all family members and signed consent forms allowing PHA to obtain information about each family member and conduct criminal background checks. Maybe they do that now. I don't know. But, you know, there are a lot of times in Section 8 properties when, you know, somebody, cousin, uncle living in the property. And I actually had that issue. Somebody, single person moved in and then brought some family members in. None of this was done. And so I had to play a little Columbo. So we had to go in and do some work in the property, and I came by with the electrician, and I was walking through the room. I said, oh, hey, bedroom. Open the door. Don't go in there. I said, oh, I got to check the whole property out. You know? I'm going to, oh, who's that? So then what I had to do, I had to actually file a complaint. And the reason why I had to file a complaint is because I didn't want them to think that I approved of that. Because then I get called into question. And then if then my owner, and this guy had, what, 15, 20 units or something on the same block. So anybody who has Section 8, he could lose that. I could lose the ability to be a Section 8 landlord, even though I'm just the property manager for the properties. So I did, I reported it. And you know what they did when they found out? Yeah, just you found it. You ain't say nothing, they ain't say nothing. They not say nothing, so. But I had to protect myself and I had to protect the owner. I have some more stuff, you can read it. Oh, wow, there's a lot of stuff. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, this is important. That's why I highlighted in red so I wouldn't forget it. All 24-hour emergency violations must be rectified on the subsequent day. And they mean that. Come on, can you give me a little bit more time home? No. If these violations remain, the landlord could be subject to abatement or HAP termination. And so, and this is again a challenge. This is what you got to stay on top of this stuff. If there's a leak, we actually had this problem. If there's a leak in a property, like a roof or something like that, and certification time is coming close, then maybe you should be a little bit more proactive in taking care of it because it's not a 24-hour job. They may tell you that you got to get it done in 24 hours, and you may not even be able to get the roofer out. Here's another thing, too, that we're going to institute with all our clients, and that is to certify heaters in the summer. So that by the time the winter comes along, if you got a problem, you're going to be able to have anticipated the problem, because if it's Section 8 and the heat goes off, anybody have a place where the heat went off? Oh, I'm the only one. Okay. Okay, we moving right along. But we did. We got them done in about 24, 48 hours, didn't we? Yeah. Yeah. Right. Yes.
But something like you were saying, roof or leak, something like that, it's like a big thing, and you can't get it done in 24 hours. Are you responsible for putting the tenant up somewhere else, in a hotel?
Then there's something I can't really answer that question. Here's because we got something else going on, but it's not out of context for this. So sometimes, even most of the time, the 24-hour repair is not something you have to move the tenant out, but it still can be difficult to get something done in 24 hours, especially if you don't. For us, we have multiple plumbers. We have an electrician. We just onboarding another electrician. We got roofers. We got plenty of people who can do small carpentry jobs. We got all of that. But if it's just you and you got, your cousin who does all your stuff went to Punta Cana for the week, destination wedding, you ain't going to, got to figure it out. This is not, you can't call them up and say, can you give me a break? Then they have.
So how do you prove you did it? So let's say you fixed it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And your little badass kids and a little badass dog and all this stuff, they break it. And they call again and say, the problem is still there. So how do you know?
Well, if it's a 24-hour?
24 hour, yeah.
Yeah, 24-hour, they're going to come out the next day. Yeah, so if it gets fixed and 48 hours later it's broke again, you probably need to start thinking about a new tenant. Right. But they're going to know right away. And then the other ones that give you their 30 days, you really do have to get it done in the 30 days. I know that. 2 days, 1 day, 2 days, no, you don't get extra. Stop. It's like that.
If you don't get the job done, I guess within the 30 days or the 24 hours, then
They don't pay you. Mm-hmm. You get right. Yes, or they abate it until you get it done, and if they do abate it for the month or something like that, and then they do determine how many days it was that you didn't do it, and they get your money back. Right.
It just doesn't fit a certain amount of pay time, too.
No, I'm just. It's if it, right. Let me let her explain it. It's abated, but it's kind of funny because the appropriate, there it is. That's the word. Yeah, right. That's an accountant word there. All right, here we go. What can I expect? Things may not go smoothly. That's life, right? I'm trying to work the crowd here. Things may not go smoothly. As you can see, there are an abundance of moving parts. You get all that 33, well, actually 44 pages. 44 pages. And when you read it, there's two different kinds of abatements for lead. And I couldn't even fully understand. I think one has to do with the child is not in the property, and another one has to do with the child is in the property. It doesn't matter, you still got to get it done. Inspections and re-inspections are a challenge. So we had one property that we were trying to put on the list. We must have had that's 9th Street, 8th Street, what is that? It was like 3 different times. More than that. Because our office in West Philly, and this is on Temple's campus. So I'm riding down to the property, and I get a call, oh, they're not going to be there. What? And then, and it's a 4-hour window, by the way, too. And then I was talking to one of the inspectors, and he was telling me, he said, people don't know what they're doing. They crowd us up with stuff, and we can't get that all done anyway. See, that's the inside stuff. Oh, and by the way, meet, as hard as it is to stay someplace 4 hours, and it may be 5, it's good to be there when they're there. Because when they tell you what you have to do, you know what it is that you have to do. Because that's how I fix the floor. Because if I had just that you got to replace the floor. What do you mean replace the floor? They didn't say replace the ceramic tiles. They replace the floor. You mean tear the floor up? I'm not doing that. And then again, I didn't have to. Now here's the nice thing about it. If you do it right, they don't even come back out. You just take a picture of it and you self-certify, right. You self-certify. I really think that they allow you to self-certify because they don't want to put more inspectors on the street. So.
They just started that self-certification thing.
Yeah, we've done it multiple times. Tenants still have to be managed. Don't get lulled to sleep because you're making a little bit more money than you would normally in the zip code. Nah, they got to be managed wisely. You got to make sure they get the other one I did about leasing.
Can you elaborate a little bit on that?
I guess the easiest thing to say is tenants they're not allowed to do whatever they want to do. So, for instance, and this is something I got to take care of. This happens to be my property. So I went by the property a while ago, and I looked at the stove. Now, I know what I'd put in my property, and the stove was all caked up with grease. I said, you can't have grease on the stove like that. They said, oh, I didn't do that. I said, well, somebody who did it. And my daughters. I said, well, you got to tell them not to do it. Apparently they didn't. She didn't tell them. Or if she told them, they didn't listen. And now I got to replace the stove.
Why you gotta replace the stove?
Because you got to have a stove in there.
They can't just clean it.
No, because we had two repair people out. And by the time we start talking about the one repair and then another repair, you might as well go ahead and put a stove in.
Gas stove or electric stove?
Gas. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, all right, so you got to stay on top of them. Which, now, you know what I just told you, right? Right? Did you catch it? I didn't stay on top of them. I didn't manage them. So I got to pay the cost for that. And communicate. Yes.
So how do you do I guess inspections every 3 months, or how do you keep from letting things like that slide to where you're just not constantly replacing stuff?
Yeah, we don't do them that often, and because we got so much other stuff to do, but that's something that we are really trying to get to, so that because ultimately what happens, so you can learn from my mistakes. Ultimately, what happens is when you could be proactive, or when I could be proactive and I'm not being proactive, I'm really not saving time. and I'm not saving money. Because if I am proactive, then I could have addressed this, and maybe it wouldn't have happened. Yes, ma'am.
Is there any way that you can, if you say something to them where you document it and a certain amount of documentation you could take back to, you know, if they wanted to file a complaint and say, like, I said this to them 3 times, this is where they documented, signed off on it, and, you know, they're responsible for part of that. Is there any way that you can mitigate the cost to you if you forewarned them that this needs to be rectified?
Yeah, and I didn't. There is a mediation process that you can go through. We've never had to go through it, but what we do is, because we got something going on like that right now, is that we just over document the fact that we're trying to get into the property to get work done.
PHA, so with PHA, there is a thing where they say tenants, if tenants damage the property, they can be responsible for it, but they don't have a system for
Right.
people to be reimbursed for that. So you could do that, and then just good luck trying to get them to actually pay for it. Because the repair itself, if it's a stove like that, it's a 24-hour repair, and they don't care who damaged it, it has to be done. And then you could later go back and then try to say, well, I documented that, I asked them to clean the stove, I documented it. And then I think they do have some kind of process within, PHA.
Yeah.
We've never had to use it, most of us don't even have the time to do that.
But
This is not an easy process, and it's not something that they have readily available to you.
outside of Section 8, safe and healthy homes, I'm gonna tell you now, if you got something that you gotta get done in the property, you better heavily document that you're trying to get the repair done. Heavily document it, in excess of what you may think you need to document. Because it could come up and it could cause your rent to be abated, which is kind of interesting with the interplay between PHA and Philadelphia. So the tenant's portion of the rent they may not have to pay it, but HCV will still continue to pay it unless they make some kind of agreement, which I doubt that they will. All right, so stick with it. It works if you do. Any questions? Oh, any questions?
Can you talk a little bit about property management and what owners should be looking for in a property manager and some things to consider?
Yeah. Okay. Here's what.
For those who didn't hear, the question was if Ed could talk about property management, and he happens to be.
So let me explain something. Whether you have a property manager or not, this is the major component right now, specifically to the city of Philadelphia, and that is compliance. You have to have a property manager who is going to ensure that there's compliance, and it's not easy, and a lot of them don't even know. So we got a guy in New York. He had talked to me before he gave it to somebody else, and then during that year, the tenants kept calling about some work that needed to be done. It's a beautiful property too. Some work that needed to be done, and the property manager wouldn't respond. So they called L&I. And they called L&I, they put a violation on the property. He didn't tell the person that it was a violation on the property. Yeah. So, again, this is what we do. I get something, well, first of all, I don't ever want that to happen. But if it does happen, then I'm going to the inspector and talking to the inspector and say, okay, well, what do we need to do? How do we need to do it? Can we get this done? I want to get it done in 30 days, et cetera. It's tough. So you got to make sure that property manager understands, it's property in Philadelphia, I want to say, it understands compliance. And the other thing is that they can get work done. Because if they can't get work done, the city got a hammer the size of a Mack truck for people who don't get their stuff done. You can actually get if you don't have L&I compliance, you can't get your rental property license if it expires, and the tenant doesn't have to pay you until you get it back. Don't even have to put it in escrow. They can go to Punta Cana. And some of them have. Yes.
I have a question about the rent. So there's that sheet that says
Okay.
each zip code gets the specific rent. Is that guaranteed or, because yeah, we have a lot of Jumpstarters who are like, yeah, I'm gonna get this rent because it says I'm gonna get this rent. So can you talk a little bit about how CHA determines the rent for a specific property?
I can't tell you. Because I don't know. They just changed. They do it by zip code. Let me start that way. They do it by zip code. And somebody, give me a zip code. Somebody.
138.
38, okay. 3, okay, yeah, right. How many different kind of properties in 19138? Just 3-bedroom houses. All kind.
5 bedrooms, so.
No, I'm just saying the 3. I'm just because they're all over the place and in varying areas.
Right.
And you know, you may not be able to get it for whatever reason. I don't even know what their criteria is, except amenities raises the amount of rent that you can get.
What types of amenities?
I'm going let me. I got it. I know.
It's just important that that's a guide for the maximum amount of rent that they will pay. So, you said amenities is gonna be what pushes your property towards that upper value. But they do have a model, we don't know it, good luck trying to figure it out for yourself. But they have a model where they check market value, and they must have some kind of way where they mark it up, because obviously, everybody else is not paying what Section 8 is getting, right? That they use, because there have been times when we've had properties that have had great amenities that have been renovated, and they still did not get the maximum, because they're looking at the value of properties in that particular area. So use that as a guide,
right.
but it's not a guarantee, because it's really not a guarantee. Like, we've had very nice properties still not get that maximum amount of rent.
Yeah, I'd say it seems like I remember asking about that, and I think the question I was asking, what street is it on? Yeah, I think that might be it. Now, let me get to amenities. This is like a little bit of a tough area, but amenities are things like appliances, central air conditioning,
Okay.
those kinds of things. Ceiling fans, wash and dryer, garbage disposal.
Rooftop deck?
Yeah, I guess so. So, but here's the problem that I found out about the amenities. You got to be a little savvy about the amenities. So, does it have air conditioning? Central air conditioning? You know how much that costs and how much it costs to maintain it, right? But a air conditioner for a bedroom at Home Depot, like $300. The air conditioner, put it in each room, make sure you got an outlet beside the window, and you got air conditioning. You see, wait, this guy's going overboard now. No, that actually happened. You know, oh, you do, okay. Is that air conditioner staying? I said, yeah, okay. So that marked it up. Some amenities you're better off not putting in. Now, this is from a lot of investors. Ceiling fans. For some reason, people, investors, they love to put ceiling fans in. Let the blade break, and you're gonna pay as much to get it repaired as you bid for the ceiling fan. Okay, see, I got somebody shaking their head back there, so they know. All right. So that's a. But here's another thing. This actually happened, I think, here with the idea of not dishwasher, but washer and dryer. Why I got to put a washer and dryer, and you got to go to the laundromat? Now think about this. Number one, it's an amenity. But here's the other thing. Think about this. You get a single parent, and they got to go to the laundromat tonight. What are they going to do with their kids? Who said? No, wait a minute. Who said that? Who said that? Right. Okay. Right. And here's what's going to happen. Here's what happens. You got this nice property. You got everything in there. You don't have you don't have the wash machine and dryer. You have a wash machine and dryer? No. Oh, okay. That's what happens. There's certain things. Maybe you don't like the fact that you got to put it in, but you do. Don't put the dishwasher in. Don't put the garbage disposal in. All right. And by the way, too, get mowing products and not Glacier Bay from Home Depot. Oh, okay, yeah. Somebody know what I'm talking about on that, yeah.
It depends on the area, right? Because it's like, it's places you go down, like, everybody's still going to the today. Still going to
See, there's a learning curve going on here. A learning curve going on here. You haven't learned yet.
Respond to that with an example. Well, we got a couple properties that we've been trying to rent Section 8. One of them is a very, very nice property, but she does not have washer and dryer unit, and there's no place to put the washer and dryer unit without significantly changing the makeup of the property, roof and plumbing and all that kind of stuff. I've had that property shown several times, and every time that it was shown, somebody was like, I really like it, but it doesn't have a washer.
Which one is that?
3209 West Montgomery Ave.
Oh, okay.
Even the tenant that we just finally got, it's like, oh man, you know, you're on a washer and dryer, can we put one in, you can't put your own.
So
they, and the danger in that is they do have these portable washer and dryers that if somebody does take it, they may be bringing along with them. And if that's a second floor unit, or if you got brand new, especially if they're real hardwood floors, right? And that thing overflows, you could have spent $1,000 on a washer and dryer combo, but now you gotta spend $3,000 to fix your floors. So it's a learning curve because yes, there's a laundromat right there. There's a laundromat right there, but in particularly Section 8 tenants are getting this in other units.
yeah.